Shavua Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Yevamot. We are up to Perek Tet Mishnah Daled. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'elu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Ranbai V'Eliyahu ben Budcha Yisraelo ben Chana bat Miriam, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen. And Le'avdi ben Chaim L'Chaim v'Derefua Shenemav, Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, and Mariana Miriam Chaya bat Tamara b'Tor Shar Cholei Yisrael. The Mishnah lists women who may not eat Tirumah or Maaser Rishon, even though they have some sort of connection with the Kohen or Levi. The Torah requires the owner of grain, vegetables, or fruit grown in Eretz Yisrael to separate various portions from each year's crop. He must give the first portion called Tirumah to a Kohen, and 1/10 of the remainder called Maaser Rishon, the first tithe, to a Levi. He then separates a second tenth from his remaining produce, and depending on the year of the Shemitah cycle, designates it as either Maaser Shini, the second tithe, which the owner eats in Yerushalayim, or as Maaser Ani, the poor man's tithe, which the owner distributes to the poor. Our mission does not discuss these tithes. Now, only a Kohen and his household may eat Tirumah. This includes his daughter, unless she marries a non-Kohen. Should she be divorced or widowed from the non-Kohen and there are no surviving offspring from the marriage, she may eat Tirumah once again. The daughter of a non-Kohen has the opposite law. She may not eat Tirumah unless she marries a Kohen. If the marriage ends, she may no longer eat Tirumah unless she has a surviving child from him. Now, the Mishnah begins with those women who may not eat Tirumah. Bat Yisrael me'oreset leKohen. If the daughter of Yisrael, now Yisrael here means as opposed to Kohen or Levi. If the daughter of Yisrael is betrothed to a Kohen, but they did not yet complete their marriage with Nisuin, me'uberet mi-Kohen, if she is pregnant from her husband who was a Kohen, and he died or divorced her, and she has no other children from him, or she is pregnant from a Kohen without having been married to him, shomeret yavam leKohen, or if her husband died without children and she is awaiting Yibum by his brother who is a Kohen, v'chen bat Kohen Yisrael, and similarly if the daughter of a Kohen is betrothed to Yisrael, is pregnant by Yisrael, or is awaiting Yibum by Yisrael, lo tochal b'tirumah. In all these cases she may not eat tirumah because neither betrothal, the erusin to a Kohen, nor pregnancy by a Kohen, nor Yavam was a Kohen can entitle a woman who was a non-Kohen to eat tirumah. And on the other hand, betrothal to Yisrael, pregnancy by Israel, or attachment to a Yavam who is Israel is enough to disqualify the daughter of a Kohen from eating Tirumah. Now these laws were briefly taught earlier in chapter 7, Mishnah 4. The Mishnah teaches that if a daughter of Israel has a relationship with the Kohen, she may eat Tirumah only A, if they completed their marriage with Nisuin, and not if they were merely betrothed, and B, if she was divorced or widowed from him, only if she has a child from him, not if she is merely pregnant from him, and C, if her husband died childless, only if she has undergone Yibum with his brother who is also a Kohen, not if she is merely attached to him and awaiting Yibum. If the situation were reversed, and it was the daughter of a Kohen who had a relationship with Israel, she becomes disqualified from eating Tirumah even if she was merely betrothed to him, or pregnant from him, or attached to his brother for Yibum. Although Erusin, pregnancy, and Yibum attachment do not allow the daughter of Israel to eat Tirumah, they do forbid the daughter of a Kohen from doing so. Now the women who may not eat Maaser Rishon, which also can simply be referred to as Maaser, Bat Yisrael me'oreset leLevi, if the daughter of Israel is betrothed to a Levi, but they deny yet complete their marriage with Nisuin, me'uberet mi-Levi, or if she is pregnant from her husband who was a Levi, and he died or divorced her and she has no other children from him, shomeret yavam leLevi, or if her husband died without children and she is awaiting Yibum by his brother who was a Levi, v'chen bat Levi Yisrael, and similarly if a daughter of a Levi is betrothed to Israel, is pregnant by Israel, or is awaiting Yibum by Israel, lo tuchal b'Maaser. In all these cases she may not eat Maaser Rishon, because Maaser may not be eaten by a non-Levi or ordinary Israel, just as Tirumah may not be eaten by a non-Kohen. Our Mishnah follows the opinion of Rabbi Meir, who forbids the Israel from eating Maaser Rishon. The Rav does point out the sages, however, disagree and hold that while Maaser Rishon is given to a Levi, it has no special sanctity and anyone may eat it. That's why the Rav does point out, Ve'en halacha, the Mishnah is not la halacha for this case of Maaser. But in any event, continue the Mishnah. Therefore, just as betrothal, pregnancy, and Yibum attachment to a Kohen do not allow the daughter of Israel to eat Tirumah, so too they do not allow her to eat Maaser Rishon. And just as betrothal, pregnancy, and Yibum attachment to Israel disqualify the daughter of a Kohen from eating Tirumah, so too they disqualify the daughter of a Levi from eating Maaser. Now even women who are allowed to eat Tirumah and Maaser have some restrictions. Ba Levi me'oreset leKohen, if the daughter of a Levi is betrothed to a Kohen, me'uberet mi-Kohen, is pregnant by a Kohen, shomeret yavam leKohen, or is awaiting Yibum by a Kohen, v'chen bat Kohen and Levi, and similarly if the daughter of a Kohen is betrothed to, pregnant by, or awaiting Yibum by a Levi, lo tochal lo b'Trumah v'lo b'Maaser, she may not be given, she cannot eat Tirumah or Maaser directly from the threshing floor. The threshing floor is where wheat, barley, and the like are threshed to separate the grain from the chaff. After threshing, the loose grain is heaped into piles, which are then smoothed. This signifies the completion of the processing of the grain in the field, and at this point, grain becomes obligated in terumah and maaser. Now, the daughter of a Kohen in one of these relationships with the Levi, or the daughter of Eli in such a relationship with the Kohen, should be allowed to receive maaser, since both a Kohen and a Levi made maaser. However, the rabbis forbade a farmer to give terumah or maaser to women at the threshing floor, where terumah and maaser were normally distributed, unless she is accompanied by her husband. The reason for this rabbinic decree is to prevent the daughter of Israel from receiving terumah or maaser after she becomes forbidden to eat them. If we allow the owner to give her terumah or maaser directly, he might mistakenly continue to do so even after she became divorced or widowed from the Kohen or Levi, without leaving a child from the marriage, even though she is now disqualified from eating it. So to avoid confusion, the rabbis forbade all women, whether they are the daughter of Israel, Levi, or Kohen, from receiving terumah maaser directly from the threshing floor, unless they are accompanied by their husband. And even though the Mishnah mentions only the daughter of a Levi or Kohen who was betrothed to a Kohen or Levi, the decree applies equally to the daughter of Israel who was married to a Kohen or Levi, and even to a woman who was fully married with Nisuin. In all cases, she must accompany her husband to the threshing floor to receive the terumah and or maaser. That is the end of Mishnah Daled. Mishnah now discusses the laws of a daughter of Israel who first married a Kohen, then a Levi, and then a Israel and a child with each of them. At each stage, the Mishnah defines her status with regard to eating terumah and maaser rishon. Bat Israel sheniseh leKohen, if the daughter of Israel married a Kohen, tochal bat terumah, she may eat terumah, because the wife of a Kohen is also entitled to eat terumah. The Gemara on page 66a in Yevamot learns this from law from a pasuk in Sefer Vayikra. Met v'lah ben. If the Kohen dies, but she has a son from him, tochal bat terumah, she may continue to eat terumah on account of her son. The Gemara Nida, page 44a, learns this law from the verse that is cited in the Gemara Yevamot. Now, although the Mishnah mentions that she had a son, the same would apply if she had a daughter. In fact, any single living descendant that she has from a Kohen entitles her to eat terumah, as the Gemara says on page 78 in Yevamot, in Masechet Yevamot, and the Mishnayot speak about in chapter 7, Mishnot 5 and 6. Nised Levi. If she then marries a Levi, tuchal b'maaser, she may eat maaser but not terumah, because once she marries a non-Kohen, she becomes disqualified from eating terumah. A married woman takes on the status of her husband. Since her current husband is not a Kohen, she too is not considered Kohanic. This is so even though she has a son from the Kohen, her first husband. Met v'lah ben. If the Levi dies, but she has a son from him as well, tuchal b'maaser, she may continue to eat maaser on account of her son, just as her child from the Kohen allowed her to eat terumah even after the Kohen's death, so too her child from the Levi allows her to eat maaser even after the Levi's death. But she may not eat terumah because her son from the Levi as a non-Kohen disqualifies her from eating terumah. A child from a non-Kohen prevents his mother from eating terumah even after the death of her non-Kohen husband, as the Torah says in Vayikra chapter 22 verse 13. Therefore, because the Levi, like Israel, may not eat terumah, the Levi's son prevents her from eating terumah after the Levi's death. He said Israel, if she then marries Israel who may eat neither terumah nor maaser, lo tochal lo b'terumah v'lo b'maaser, she may not eat terumah or maaser. Met v'la ben. If the Israel dies but she has a son from him, her status remains the same. Lo tochal lo b'terumah v'lo b'maaser, she may not eat terumah or maaser, because her son from the Israel disqualifies her for eating both terumah and maaser. Like we explained in the previous Mishnah, this Mishnah follows the opinion that maaser rishon may not be eaten by Israel. So both her husband and son were Israelim, disqualify her from eating maaser in addition to terumah, even though she has a child from the Kohen and Levi as well. The Mishnah continues with the same case and explains how her status changes if her son dies. Med benam Israel, if her son from the Israel dies, tuchal b'maaser, she may once again eat maaser on account of her son from the Levi, but she may still not eat terumah. A woman is forbidden to eat terumah or maaser when she has children from a non-Kohen or non-Levi, only as long as the children are alive. Once they die, she returns to her previous status, which in this case was that of a Levi. Now this is so only when the child died without offspring of his own. We spoke about in chapter 7, Mishnah 5. Med benami Levi, if later her son from the Levi dies, tuchal b'terumah, she may once again eat terumah on account of her son from the Kohen. Med bena Kohen, if still later her son from the Kohen dies, lo tochal lo b'terumah v'lo b'maaser, she may not eat terumah or maaser, for now she has no husband and no connection to her husband to her child. She therefore returns to being simply Israel's daughter, who is forbidden to eat both terumah and maaser. And that is the Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Everybody should have a Shavuot Tov. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.